Hello, dear friend. I have been traveling around the world for many years, and each of my paths reveals new mysteries. It seems that people have already measured everything. There are maps, satellites, science. But no, nature keeps its secrets, and they surprise even scientists. Today, I'm going to tell you about 10 places where I've been and where the laws of nature seem to adjust to the game of imagination. I will tell you about them as I have seen them, without imagination, but with the feeling that remains in your heart when you are near these wonders. On the island of Mauritius, I saw for the first time an illusion that makes my heart stop. From the coast of the peninsula of Le Morne-Brabant, you will not notice anything unusual, but if you go higher, and the picture changes. The ocean seems to be breaking down, and the water is rushing into the abyss. It's actually sand and coral silt, which is carried by the underwater currents to a deep trench. From up high, it creates the effect of a real waterfall. The illusion is so plausible that even knowing how it works, you still believe the eyes. I looked at this miracle for a long time. The sun lay down on the water with golden flashes, and it seemed that before me, a living picture, always different and unpredictable. Tourists specifically climb into the sky to see it from above, because from the ground, this miracle remains hidden. When I left, there was a feeling in my heart that the ocean had just shown me its secret side. But the wonders of the ocean are a game of illusion, a trick of vision created by water and sand. The real test was waiting for me in the heart of Central Asia, in the desert of Karakuma. And it was there, among the sands, that I saw what people called the gates of hell. Yes, it is a giant flaming funnel. I did not believe my eyes. The history of the crater began in 1971. Then the Soviet geologists drilled a well here, hoping to find a gas deposit. But the ground under the feet suddenly collapsed, and the rig with the equipment went into a huge underground cavity. Gas broke out of the crack. To avoid poisoning local residents, they decided to burn it. Everyone thought that it would burn in a few days, but the days turned into weeks, years, and for more than half a century, the flame continues to burn. I stood at the very edge of the night. It was completely dark all around. The stars were shining in the sky, and only this crater illuminated everything around. During the day, the picture is different. Under the scorching sun of the desert, the crater looks even more frightening. Around dry, dead earth, and among it, lies a fiery mouth. When you look at it from a distance, it reminds you of a lively myth, and you wonder, what will happen if one day this fire is still extinguished? Leaving behind the flaming crater of Turkmenistan, I went further, to where nature does not scare with fire, but surprises with color. Imagine, on the edge of the earth, in Australia, there is a lake that has forever been painted in a bright pink shade, and no heat or time can change its color. In Australia, my route was to Middle Island. There, among the wild nature and dense thickets, hides a lake that breaks the usual ideas about water. Hillier is a lake, painted in a bright pink color, and this color does not disappear by day, night, sunny weather, or rain. The lake looks like a giant bowl of raspberry drink. All this did not resemble a natural landscape, but some fantasy of an artist who decided to combine pink, white, and blue in one canvas. Scientists have long ago established that the unusual color is caused by unusual algae and special bacteria. which produce pigments in high salinity conditions. The water here is so salty that life in its usual way is impossible. But it was the microorganisms that turned Hillier into one of the most striking wonders of the planet. I tried to get some water in the bottle, and the shade remained unchanged. It struck me most. An illusion is not called. This is a permanent state of the lake. Even scientists admit full explanation why the color is so persistent, they still do not have. But the wonders of Australia were left behind, and my journey brought me back to Europe. There is a forest in Poland where nature has broken its own rules. I went in there and saw hundreds of pine trees that were bending at the very bottom, as if someone had once told them to grow wrong. More than 400 pines grow here in an unusual way. At the base of their trunks, bend almost at a right angle, as if someone had deliberately bent them and then let go. After the bend, the trees reach up again as they should. The result is a strange, almost mystical pattern. The whole forest is full of equally curved trees, and around it, an ordinary fence where pine trees grow straight. I walked between these trunks and asked myself, why are they like this? Scientists and locals offer different versions. Some believe that a strong snow once crushed young seedlings, and they grew curved. Others are sure that there is an unusual gravity. There is even a theory that all this is the mark of World War II, as tanks passed through the forest, damaged the trees. But most of all, it seems that the farmers themselves once deliberately bent young pine trees to then use wood in building boats or furniture. Whatever explanation is true, it feels special. The forest seems alive, as if it holds a secret that does not intend to reveal. Having left Poland, I moved further east. Soon the road took me to Ukraine, where among forests and trees, the railway turned into a green corridor. There was a place for me, full of romance and legends. This is the Tunnel of Love. The legend says, if a couple in love passes through it and makes a wish, it will definitely come true. And I saw with my own eyes how the newlyweds came here in wedding dresses, took pictures, put flowers next to rails. This place has become a true symbol of hope and loyalty. From a practical point of view, the tunnel was not formed by accident. The trees grew along the railway, and rare trains passing through the thickets as if they had trimmed the branches, giving the corridor the right shape. But when you walk there, the whole explanation of science seems superfluous. Before your eyes is a living tunnel in which it is easy to believe in miracles. I spent many hours there, wandering in the tunnel and admiring its beauty. Each step opened a new angle. The corridor seemed lighter, then it became dark and mysterious. And when the sun went down, everything around it shone with a golden light, and the Tunnel of Love became a real setting for a movie. But my journey did not stop at the green arches of Ukraine. I went much further, where nature shows its character in a much more severe form. In Indonesia, I went up to Kelimutu volcano, and there were 3 lakes waiting for me at the top, each one with its own color. One shone brightly with turquoise, as if it had been painted by the heavens. The other was reddish-brown, as if the traces of lava were frozen in it. The third looked gloomy and almost black. But the most amazing thing is that lakes change color over time. Scientists explain this by the interaction of minerals, sulfur, and volcanic gases. But the locals believe otherwise. According to their legends, in these lakes live the souls of the dead, and the change of color is a reflection of their mood. I watched the tourists who stood quietly next to me. No one was in a hurry to leave. Everyone tried to remember this species as if he feared that it would disappear in the same instant. But Kelimutu does not disappear anywhere. It remains the same volcano, only its lakes look new every time. Today, they are of one color. Tomorrow, they are different. And in this also, their magic. For the locals, Kelimutu is a sacred place. They come here not just for beauty, but to honor their ancestors. Leaving behind the mystical lakes of Kelimutu, I went to another continent. There is a place in Bolivia that turns into a white desert or a giant mirror. This is the salt pan of Uyuni, one of the most amazing wonders of South America. Its area exceeds 10,000 square kilometers, and when you first go out on the white plain, it seems to be in another world. In the dry season, Uyuni looks like an endless snowy desert. The sun crunches under your feet, the air is dry, and the sky is so bright that your eyes flicker even through dark glasses. But when the rains come, everything changes. A thin film of water covers the surface, and Uyuni turns into a giant mirror. In such moments, the very boundary between heaven and earth disappears. You go forward and do not understand where reality ends and where reflection begins. The locals have been mining for salt here for centuries, and you can still see old traces of work. But for travelers, this place is above all a wonder. Tourists from all over the world come here for pictures that look like they were taken in space. I took some pictures myself and realized that it was better to see in person. No camera will convey a sense of infinity when the world above and below seems one whole. But here is the white mirror of Bolivia left behind, and I went to America. There, where a giant stone monolith suddenly rises among the plains. In the state of Wyoming, among hills and vast plains, I saw something incredible. Out of the ground suddenly rises a huge stone column about 265 meters high. It is called the Devil's Tower, and this name is not accidental. The shape and size of the monolith are so unusual that it seems as if you are not facing a natural formation, but a handmade fortress. As I got closer, I noticed that the surface of the tower consists of long hexagonal columns. They are flat, almost perfect in shape, and reach up to the very top. It seems that someone once carved this stone with giant tools. In fact, scientists believe that the Devil's Tower is a remnant of an ancient volcano. There was a magma here once, but over time, the soft rocks collapsed and the solid volcanic rod stood alone. The local Indian tribes consider this place sacred. They have a legend. Once 7 girls ran away from the bear, and the earth rose to protect them. The claw of the beast left grooves on the stone, and they formed these vertical columns. The tourists came here to take pictures or try their hand at climbing, but I just sat and watched. The Devil's Tower makes an impression even without saying anything. But America does not only hold stone miracles. There are places where man encounters unexplained fear. To the north, in the cold waters of Lake Michigan, is a triangle called the brother of the famous Bermuda. That's where I went next. to the Michigan Triangle, where ships disappear and planes disappear without a trace. The most famous case occurred in 1950. A passenger plane, Northwest Airlines, flew out of New York and was to land in Minneapolis. But over the lake, communication with it was broken. No wreckage, no bodies of passengers were ever found. Only cold water and fog, nothing else, no trace. I've talked to the fishermen who go out on boats in these waters. Many of them are sure there are things happening in the triangle that cannot be explained. Suddenly, there is a strong storm. Then there is dense fog, which throws us off course. There were times when compasses started to behave strangely, and experienced captains could not orient. The Michigan Triangle reminds us that even in today's world, where there are radars and satellites, there are places beyond explanation. And my journey ended in China, in the province of Gansu. There, near the city of Zhangye, there is a park called Danyi, a place that cannot be erased from memory. From the top of the viewing platform in front of me opened a panorama of colorful mountains. The red, yellow, green, and gray bands of waves stretch for tens of kilometers. It seemed that the earth itself had turned into a giant canvas painted by the artist's hand. Scientists say these rocks formed millions of years ago. At first, there was a huge basin in which sediment accumulated. Layer by layer, they stacked on each other, and then the tectonic processes raised the earth, and the rain with the wind exposed colorful beds. That's how these fantastic landscapes came about. At that moment, I had the feeling that I was not looking at the mountains, but at a living picture. Sometimes nature speaks to us without words, and Zhangye Danxia is exactly such a place. It reminds us that the earth knows how to create beauty, which does not need to be justified either by myths or scientific facts. Listen, buddy, I met a gray-haired old man in the distance. His eyes were like faded maps, and his voice was like the wind blowing rocks. He said, "The traveler has three faces. First, what he shows to the passengers, a mask of confidence and strength to respect him and walk close. The second is what those who share with him a fire in the night, who walks by through the storm and heat. And the third, open only when the road leads to silence, when there are no steps behind or looks on the side. This is the face of a true wanderer, his soul alone with himself." The old man stopped, and I understood. This trail is the most difficult. It can only be passed alone, carrying only your own fears and doubts. But maybe that's where the real world opens up. So guard what is stored in your memory, my friend, because not all treasures of gold, the most reliable, always live inside us. And if you were warmed by that fire, sign up to find your way back. Share this story with anyone you want to invite to our bonfire and leave a small sign, like. Then I'll know you're still there and listening.